introduce the panelists. Katie Kennedy works to increase building material reuse, salvage, and deconstruction through programs, incentives, and policies. She also manages the city of Seattle's requirements around C and D recycling and diversion, including material disposal bans, the qualified recycling facility program, and waste diversion reports for building permits. Prior to working for Seattle Public Utilities, Katie built an extensive foundation in waste-related topics through her work as a consultant. Dave Bennick is director of Building Deconstruction Institute and owns Reuse Consulting. He trains groups focusing on reusable materials and embodied carbon, and has salvaged or deconstructed over 5,000 projects in North America, existing in the circular economy since 1993. Dave also runs the Reuse Center in Bellingham, a 12,000 square foot warehouse and reclaimed lumber yard with over 100,000 board feet of reclaimed wood. Sean Conta is owner at Harga Homes with a background in engineering and construction. Sean has been working in green building and energy efficiency for the past 12 years. He is formerly a certified passive house grader, Curtis grader, built green verifier, and has extensive experience with sustainability and high performance homes in the Seattle area. Sean recently became a certified passive house builder. So with that, let's get started. And our first presenter is Dave.
And can I ask our panelists if it's not too tight up at our little table, because what we're gonna do tonight is have a little bit of a back and forth discussion. So if you guys get all.
The camera is pointed, the webcam is pointed.
Yeah, so
right where they're sitting.
So you'll want to see on the screen, you'll see where.
Okay,
That's why they were sitting.
I see. Okay.
Oh, we can adjust the view. You can adjust the webcam, yeah, we can.
Thanks. We're learning things.
Bear with us as we. Tilt the screen towards me so I can see.
So Steve suggested to use that towel for everything, but it's
everybody. Yeah. Alright, we could use the owl so for those unfamiliar with the owl, this is a really sweet like noise detecting camera that is a 3D camera that picks up whoever's talking and puts that person and whoever's talking, multiple people up on the screen. It's pretty sweet. So there are, yeah, it should pick up everyone's voices in the room. We have a few microphones that spread out, so don't feel like you have to scream to go for the microphone to pick up, is what I'm told. I know Aaron. I just realized I didn't introduce myself either. I'm on the board of the guild and the brand new fresh chair of the education committee, helping us pull these two things together and coordinate. Yeah. All right, so we're going to flip to the owl. Let's see how this baby works. Okay, so the camera will face whoever's talking. So, and at the same time, I'm going to share this screen as the main thing. It will be those on Zoom.
Okay, these are not Dave's slides.
Dave's going first. Thank you. Sorry, nice. You there? Thank you. Sweet, and then we got a clicker.
Great.
Yes.
Well, you all appreciate that animation.
Fantastic. It's scary.
I could just keep this slide on. Okay, what's this? You throw these presentations together and you're like, what does this say again? You don't understand. Okay, so we, we started out and like oh, you recycle building materials, right? And I'm like, well, we reuse them, but we can call it recycling if that's what you want in the nineties, right? And then it was like, well, can you go beyond recycling? And I'm like, yeah, we reuse. And then it's like, now we're beyond reuse. So what is that? We'll go through that. Okay, what do? I do a lot of different things. One of the things I do is I take buildings apart and then I sell the parts, right? And makes sense, you know, we don't demolish, I've never demolished a building, I've only disassembled them. So one of the great things about my job is when we sell the parts, we can often sell them affordably. So, and one of the statements that I came up with that I believe in is that affordability is the gateway to sustainability. Because if you build something and it's really expensive that only one or two people can afford, that's not so sustainable after all, you know? So we try to do something, we try to come up with things that are affordable so that they're for everyone, right? Everyone's involved with us at our reuse center, rich and poor, whatever. So, so there's always room. Did that move by itself? Or are you doing it? Did I? Okay. Yeah, so, next slide. Okay, so we don't just take buildings apart, we build buildings out of reclaimed materials. So not a lot of people know that, but we don't build, you know, homes, we build little fun beach cabins and we build storage sheds and farm stores and, you know, guest houses and stuff below the threshold of square footage, you know, smaller structures. And we try to build them like this out of all reclaimed materials. And the design often comes into my mind or one of our builders' minds just from some of the materials, right? They're like looking at, like, I took it out of this building and they're gonna build this building, but how did we decide on this? And that the picture doesn't really show the building very well, but it was the windows, you know? Like we had a big pile of windows and they're like, that's it. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna incorporate these windows. We have this many windows of this size and go, you know, like that's it. That's how we decided to build this cabin. The thing about our buildings are they are designed for disassembly. So that's important, right? I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't. So I'm always promoting design for disassembly because I understand how important that is. So if you you know, this building is in two modules. So we build buildings, you know, out of assemblies like panels, like walls and floors, you know. So we create kits for people where they can build it in their backyard. We also build modules like this. This is two modules that are bolted together. So for transportation purposes, easy. If you had to relocate this, easy, you know, because it's not that hard to move. So but we actually, you know, what is beyond reuse? What are you talking about? Well, we don't just take the buildings apart and then sell the parts. Things out of the parts. We make furniture, you know, we build entire buildings, things like that. Sometimes we take a building apart and then in such a way that it gets reassembled somewhere else. The exact same building gets reassembled somewhere else. So this is building 239, and so we're on to 240 now, 240 structures. So it's not a new idea for us, but it's going pretty well. So we're training other people to do that. So yeah, so we disassemble buildings, we reassemble buildings. That's fun. We remove flooring and we install flooring. We reinstall flooring. So it's like, what are we trying to do? We're trying to complete the cycle. You know, we're not leaving it up to chance anymore. We're not leaving it up to other contractors that may talk the owner out of it and say, oh, that's too much trouble. Reclaimed materials, too much trouble. I'm like, well, not for us because we offer those services now. Probably not in your area, but we do. So, okay, so I love this house, this A-frame they're taking apart. It looks like a giant dollhouse. So we've done so many different things, though it's hard to talk about it in a short talk. I mean, there's a TV show. Maybe we'll get it, maybe we won't. We've had 2 interviews, so maybe that will work out. That'll be fun. We have secondhand shrubs. That's my favorite. I just like saying the name of the program. Secondhand shrubs, where we sell the plants and landscaping from the job sites. So living plants. But one of the things we have is the Reuse Innovation Center. And I think I have a slide on that, but we create products and we do, participate in industrial symbiosis, another fun name, but that's really, where we go to one of our industry, manufacturing partners or some other company, and we target their waste stream and try and create like products out of their own waste, like what are they throwing away and what could we do with it? Stuff like that. So this is something, the Reuse Innovation Center is the evolution of the reuse store, and it's something we're doing. I think we have several that we've helped start, and there's several more on the way. And the one right now is New York City. So we're getting one started in Brooklyn, and that's a challenge, that's a hard place to be. So what it is it's a circular business cooperative, if you wanted to name it, right? You want to say, what kind of model is this? It's a circular business cooperative. So in Bellingham, we have 10 businesses that are part of the Reuse Innovation Center. Some of them take buildings apart, some of them put buildings back together. Some of them repair things, and some of them make things like tables, stuff like that. So some of them sell things, so it's like all together, they don't really compete with each other as much as they complete each other, like they're doing, I'm taking a building apart, I'm building a building, I need wood, I'm getting rid of wood, perfect, so we create our own little micro circular economy in our own space, so that we don't rely on people outside of our group to do much, like we can be more self-sufficient. So I only have so many minutes, so I won't get through that. Anyway, a couple of lessons that we've learned over time is time, like we need more time. We need a little more time than demolition, than the machine that wastes things, that destroys things, that creates problems, right? We need a little more time than they do, but we need demand for things. So in the economy, you think of the linear economy, it's always like supply and demand. Okay. So we do demand and supply. So that's been our mantra for 33 years. So if you can build demand for something before you get it, then it creates like a vacuum. It has to be filled. So, you watching the clock?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Good. I'm not either. So here's an important one. If you believe in circular, then you have to buy circular, right? We can't just have you talking about it. We can't just have you like, here's a window, or here's some stuff. We need you to buy stuff in an equal amount. It doesn't have to be equal, but it's like we need you to make an effort, to create that demand, right? If you created the demand, and you could be the supply and the demand. Maybe you have a building you're getting rid of, and then you're building a building, and it's like, well, you could be on both sides. So but in New York City, that's the main, one of the main focuses we have, is to try and create demand for the materials so that we don't have to store it forever. You guys would understand how that sucks. We have to move things quickly because it's New York City. So you can't store it, you have to get rid of it. If you already have a demand built up, then you never have to store it, actually. So but basically, my final statement, I guess, would be stop investing in the linear economy. Even if you think you're building sustainably, you're building passive homes or whatever it is you're doing, if you're investing all of that money in the linear economy, then that really isn't helping us, build up the circular economy, so. Hopefully. As we develop the circular economy to meet more of your needs. Like, then maybe you could meet us partway. So, because that's one of the things that we're. As I start more and more of these businesses all over North America, it's often one of the challenges is like, well, who am I gonna sell this to? So, or how much can I sell this for? So is that the last? Oh, more animation. So, anyway, there's my little intro slides
Okay,
on to.
and I think we're gonna flow on with this, so I just want, does anybody have any burning questions for Dave at this time? If not, we'll go to Sean. Yes, go ahead.
So you're trying to create demand, so I'm visualizing it that you'll be waitlisting your windows in 2x4s. So there'll be a long, we might have one ready for you next month or something.
Yeah, yeah, we, like it's, I guess one good example of building up demand would be bricks, or a spiral staircase or something. And so like if I had, we have a wish list and people record their wishes, they say, I want a spiral staircase. And I'm like, okay, I don't have it. And I don't know when I'm gonna get it. But when I get one, I can call the wish list and then I may sell it from the job site, Same with brick, it's like we did a project where we had 150,000 bricks. And we sold them all from the job site, so we never had to bring it back. That was cool, that worked out all right. So, you see examples like that of how great that was, and you're like, oh, let's do more of that, And then you go to somewhere like New York City and then you're forced into, but see, we've already developed all these things, so we're ready to go there because we already know what we're doing. But those are just examples of demand before supply.
Honor.
Are you guys salvaging any structural things, and how is an engineer signing on it after?
Yeah, we salvage a lot of structural things. We just started working with Circular Steel, a group out of the UK. And we have a project in Manhattan where they have bunch of I-beams, in this medical school that we're taking down. It's 500,000 square feet. So think about that, 500,000 square feet, middle of Manhattan. You're trying to save beams that are wrapped in concrete, encased in concrete. So like, that's the challenge. But as far as getting engineers to sign off on it, we're working with Burrow Happel, which is an international engineering firm, and they would be the ones to sign off based on whatever research they do and whatever testing they want to do and inspecting the product, make sure it's up to standards.
That's pretty, that's awesome, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's, you talk more, about reuse of.
But about that too.
Yeah, you.
Great.
That'd be great, yeah, if he's gonna bring it up, right? That'd be great, because that's a perfect.
Since you might.
Actually, Tim was.
No, my question's got answered, so.
Oh, okay.
What have you learned? How long have you guys been doing this?
33 years, so
What have you learned in, say, the last 10 years?
10 years.
Or just say, what have you learned since you started?
Break it down. No, we learned a lot, yeah, in the beginning, I think, we, like, one of the main things I learned was like, in the beginning, it's like, let's put the landfill on a diet, like. That was like, I've never said that in the last 20 years, 30 years probably. Because, I realized, no, let's preserve history, We've done a lot of that along the way. We learned how to do that. In fact, we disassemble historic buildings and reassemble them over here, that when all else, other historic preservation efforts fail, then we come in and see,
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So like, there's something we learned, but then we learned that affordability is the gateway to sustainability, right? We learned that along the way. It took us 3 weeks, to learn that out of 33 years. The reason is because there was a guy and he had a fire, his family's house burned and they didn't have enough insurance, so they built it back together. They ran out of money and it was just a shell, it was dried in and that's it. So he would come every week and he would buy, you could tell when he got paid, because he put everything on hold, and when he got paid, he'd come grab it all, you know? But it's so great, the things that I've learned, you know, along the way, the stories have been keeping me addicted to this win-win scenario, you know? Like, we have learned to go beyond reuse, to do everything, create jobs, you know, equity, social, you know, social issues, you know, we are creating a housing unit for the unhomed that costs $1,250, you know? And so it's possible, you know, we've learned to do this stuff, and there's not enough time to talk about all of it, but.
Yeah, I hate to sound like the capitalist in the room, but is there a financial driver? I think you might have touched on it, or is it primarily altruistic and trying to be sustainable?
You can have it both, actually, we found. That's something else we learned. You can make money saving the planet. You can do it. And the reason is because when we bid on a job, you say, how has he beat mechanical demolition 5,000 times? How is that possible? Well, the machines don't always help. You know, a lot of kitchen remodels, there's no machines, right? You know, so we did win on those. But like, we get paid to take the building apart, then we get paid when we sell the materials, and we spend far less money at the landfill. And then you're like, okay, now let's pencil those numbers in and see how it compares to mechanical demolition, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then let's, I don't want to take everybody's time here, but when we take a building apart and we realize the last builder did such a good job, right? You know, like, why would I take apart your buildings after you did such a good job putting them together? You know, maybe you glued the floor, the subflooring down, so I can't take it apart anyway, you know? So what we do is we save intact assemblies. That's one of our tricks, you know? If we have a floor that's in good shape, we are going to cut that floor out and reuse the floor assembly, right? We don't take the floor apart so you can build a floor. We sell you the floor, or the wall, or the truss, or the staircase, which brings up that structural thing again, right? You know, like, how does that work? But it's been great because now we can build faster, we can build cheaper, we can disassemble faster, we can disassemble cheaper. So we can make a profit doing this because we've learned how to do it, you know, over the years. So now, what do I do now? I spend a lot of my time teaching other people because I'm onto something and I'm spreading it all over North America. So
That was awesome, thanks.
yeah, and you can have both. You can do it. So.
Yeah, cool. And so we're gonna come back to a panel discussion after Sean and Katie give their presentations. So up next, we got Sean of Targa Homes.
I can't be responsible for what Greta does, because she's promised to have me.
Oh, no. Bring it. Jump in. You got the clicker?
No.
Yeah. On one side. Whoa, just. Okay. We'll just get the share. Screen. Okay, I'm back.
Okay. I'm Sean, Conta of Targa Homes. Targa is just two people, myself and my site super Matt. We're a small new construction residential Seattle company. High performance builders, passive house stuff. I was a former raider. We used to work with Greta. That's why she's gonna heckle me. But I got into construction. Boring. Yeah, so I guess I'll just get into this, but this goes to your question. I can't remember your name. Tim. I thought I'd bring this up because, yeah, as Dave provides the materials, I'm a builder that uses the reclaimed lumber. Now, a lot of people, I think, historically think of reclaimed finish work, right? Oh, we have a cool accent wall of reclaimed wood, and that's great. We've been using it for frame. And how do you do that? Well, in 2018, the residential code was updated to allow this. Basically, this is the section if you want to. If anyone ever needs to know, it's 602.1.1.1. You can use. I don't know, you guys can read this, but I don't think it's a 2x6 shall be assumed to be spruce pine fir stud grade. The key here is that anything for a number 2 application, which is basically your wall studs, does not need grading. That is the easiest path into reclaimed framing. A lot of studs in a house. When you get into structural members, it is more tricky. Anyway, you can look. How you doing? There we go. The first project I built as a GC was a small dadu in Shoreline, which is a separate municipality from Seattle. And I should say, I have a good relationship with Sledge, which is a local company, a lot like Dave's. They are a deconstruction company. I'm friends with those guys. They do deconstruction and provide lumber packages for builders like me, for other purposes too. This is a package I got from Sledge. Well, we went into this project and said, oh, what about this grading thing? This is before the code was changed. And the city of Shoreline said, you need to have graded lumber. Well, I hired a guy to come grade it on site. It was a few $100s. We had to lay out all the lumber. But it's doable, you know, like these are floor beams, these are floor joists. This is all the bigger stuff, right? 2x12s.
Wait, who did you call? How do you find somebody like that?
I don't remember, John. I
West Coast,
Googled it.
West Coast Lumber Inspection Bureau.
Yeah,
They just called her?
I Googled it and figured it out. Thoughts on it. And this dude showed up and made us show us all the sides. He had a cool metal stamp, which you can see right here, which is the grade, you know. I don't remember if any met lower grades. I think they were all pretty good. I mean, the thing about reclaimed lumber is, you probably know, it's beautiful wood. It's maybe old growth or second growth lumber, so it's way better than the crap you get today. I don't think there was any issues with the grading process except just getting it done. And certainly having to lay out all your lumber is maybe not feasible for everyone. But it wasn't a huge lumber package. Side note, we built the home on diamond piers. These are piers with basically a pin pile that you drive yourself with a breaker hammer. I kind of did this whole thing myself. I didn't know what I was getting into, but worked out okay. And that was kind of the start of our story. I mean, this is another project, but I was going to pause and kind of mention something that came to mind, which is to say, there's something beautiful, I think, about building a super high performance, airtight, efficient home out of wicked old lumber that has been in 2 or 3 houses, right? It's pretty cool. It's worth noting that, like, as a passive house nerd and built green nerd, I mean, but the specifically passive house rating system doesn't really actually get into materials. The world kind of breaks down into, if you're thinking about carbon, operational carbon, which is the performance of the house, right? How much energy is the home using after it is finished and occupied? This is what, like, most people think of as energy use. But as we sort of figure that out, and it gets easier to do that, and it really is getting easier with heat pumps and just more knowledge spreading, the embodied carbon, something I think we all need to focus on more, and that is the energy that is used to make the stuff that you make the house out of. So reclaimed lumber is a great, like, answer to that, right? But a lot of rating systems, passive house doesn't get into this. Built Green sort of does, but it's kind of worth noting, like, okay, there's a whole world out there. If you guys are kind of just getting into this, the performance of the building, there's also the embodied carbon that is worth thinking about as you build a home. You know, spoiler alert, concrete and steel are crappy, like they use a ton of energy. So the more we can minimize concrete and steel specifically, frankly, the better off we are. And certainly as you get into wood frame structures, use reclaimed lumber. Here's another package we had dropped at another job. I think we've used reclaimed lumber in all of our jobs except maybe a couple. It's beautiful wood. Like you don't get this from Home Depot, right? It's dense. A lot of people ask me, oh, well, like, how do your framers deal with this? Well, we framed this house, so we dealt with it fine. But you know what? My experience has been, I asked the framer, hey, can we use some old wood? And they go, okay. That's it. The nails don't bounce off it. It's a little harder to maybe make a mark on if it's dark, but like it's not that big a deal. When John asked me to do this presentation, he's like, "Can you give us 5 minutes or maybe more?" I'm like, "I don't know what to say because there's the fucking old lumber. Framer's not going to care probably, and life goes on, and it feels really good." So here's matte framing walls. As you can see, it is darker. It varies, right? Like different project to project. This project we got some 24-foot 2x6s that were laser straight. So it's like amazing, right? The next project, they were bad, and like we had to send some back and figure it out. And it's not that big a deal. You get bad lumber with new lumber also, right? So the quality varies. This was really pretty old lumber, but like some recent packages have been pretty new lumber, and that's okay too. Might have just been come out of a house 20 years ago, but we're reusing it. But yeah, this is kind of what the process looks like, which is, by the way, regular framing. We do what you would call a monopoly roof system, which you can Google if you want, but dipping into the performance a little bit, this is we frame a home without any overhangs to make a really easy shape to air seal. We tape all the seams, especially this roof to wall seams, very easy when you don't have rafter tails sticking through. And then we apply rafter tails with big SDWS screws on top, which creates the overhang. We then fill, I don't know about this slide, yes I do. We then fill that cavity between the tails and of course the field with foam, or you could of course use other insulation materials, rigid insulation materials. That creates a continuous layer of insulation above the sheathing. It's a super good assembly. I'm not gonna get too much into that, but the reason I put these pictures up is because these tails were like rock solid. You could probably put 6 people right here and there's no deflection. So like that's another, I think, benefit of a lot of this older growth wood is it's very stiff, very strong. I had no qualms about building the overhangs of a house out of this. And this is what it looks like when you're sort of mid-construction. You put another layer of plywood over it, and that it's a different type of roof system. But yeah, and I think I just have some pictures of what it looks like. I always love to use more. I'd love to use more reclaimed lumber. In the older homes, there's plywood didn't exist pre, I don't know, 40s, Dave. So we're still using modern plywood, like new lumber for that. But a lot of our studs are reclaimed. I later learned we probably could have done the rafters reclaimed too. We did on this project. Here's a different project where, because of just supply and timing, we really only used interior walls, 2x4s for reclaimed. But that's not a structural, not even remotely structural use, and it's something. I think one of the things I've learned is like, maybe we don't have an entire package of reclaimed lumber, but let's use some interior walls. I feel like every stud you use that's reclaimed is better. So I don't think people need to burden themselves with like, oh, everything's got to be reclaimed. Just try some of it to start. This was that first dadu with the diamond piers. We did do a beautiful, I think, reclaimed fir accent wall, which we oiled, and it has a cool look to it. Might be my last slide, but this is really one of the coolest things I feel like we've done. Going back to this, Matt and I were framing this house. We had this great package. We kept cutting studs. We're like, we know, we'd be like, look, dude, you know, look at the grain on this thing, you know. So like we had this was right during COVID or right after, and supply chains were weird, and we had a European window package coming, and it was like 24 weeks, and we thought it would be 20, but now we have like a delay. So I'm like, all right, I've got to get something for Matt to do. He's a very good Finnish carpenter. I said, dude, we have to do something end grain. And so the kitchen had this little section of butcher block of countertop that was kind of separated from everything. And we decided to make this butcher block end grain countertop out of the framing lumber of the home. As you can see, you know, Matt, like, of course, matched everything and laid it out real nice, and router sledded and planed it and sanded it, and it came out really beautifully, I think. It's a cool connection, I think. You know, when someone walks into this, I should have put more finished pictures in, but this home was framed out of reclaimed lumber, but you don't know that, of course, walking in, because it's all hidden behind drywall. But I think this is a cool kind of connection to the bones of the house. You know, the owners can say, this is made from the wood that the house was framed out of. And it's a conversation piece. It's beautiful and baby's bottom smooth and durable and old. And I think it's awesome. Last little sequence here. This was one of a daddy we built a couple years ago. We finally achieved the deconstruct the old weird garage that was all painted red, and then what the hell? And then that one was still did it now. No, I have one more in there. No, that's it now. Okay, well, anyway, we were able to use literally these 2x6s in the new home. I have a picture where you can see like one red stud, but that's like ultimate. I mean, maybe not Dave level, but pretty good circular construction, I think. That's pretty much what I had to say. So use some old wood, people. No big deal. Good stuff. Done.
What is the cost difference between the reclaimed wood package you got versus?
Right, right. So I get asked that a lot, and I should have mentioned that we're a small company. We do 1 or 2 projects a year. I'm close with the Sledge guys. They, up until recently, had been giving me the same price as a new board. Now, I think that was a little bit of a friend deal. I think they've had to increase their prices. But so I don't really know, I guess is the answer. But you know, 10% more on a lumber package is a huge impact to the whole project, right? So I wish I had a better answer. It is probably more expensive.
Well, so I had a secondary question that's related. Do you divulge this to your clients? Do you not even mention it? It's just what you do?
Good question. I mean, my approach from the start has been to teach the clients. You know, I don't ask the client if they want an HRV for ventilation. That's my job. They don't know. I know. Clients don't know embodied carbon impact of the materials of the building. I think it's a builder's job to say, yeah, this is a good material. We're making this impact, and I'd be happy to tell you about it, but it's not your decision, you know? Nor do they, you know, care. And also, by the way, they love it because they're like, cool.
Yeah.
This is a great, I mean, anyone can grasp this concept, right? Like, wood is amazing, right? You can take 1,000 nails and it's still strong. So, yeah, it's more of a teaching process throughout, you know? Just work. Right.
I think just to piggyback off of what you said, I think it's also a bit of like a brand thing. Like, that is what Cargo Homes prioritizes. I know there's similar companies in the room that I can attest that that is their brand. If a client wants to work with them, they know that that's what they're getting. Say that for artisans group, for philosophy, like, that is, if a client wants to sign up with them, they know it, that in some capacity, that's what they're getting. So I think it's also defining your brand and saying, yeah, this is just what we do.
Yeah, I agree,
Yeah.
yeah, it's, which feels good, you know, I mean, we do it anyway, so it's nice to have it.
And how often do you feel that that is that you were selected for a project because that's your brand?
Almost never. I mean, despite, I loved your comment, Greta, but frankly. Most of my clients have just found me because like, oh, word of mouth, or oh, I need a dadu, this guy builds dadus, and. Most often it's been, let me teach you our approach, and that's not why they found me. I mean, I hope that changes, right? I want to work with more clients who are already bought in. But the nice thing is, like, in our part of the world, people are generally progressively minded and like the idea and get on board pretty quick. But yeah, it's rarely the reason people find it. But I think that'll change.
It looks like it might be a little slower friend than salvage lumber because you're spending so much time admiring.
The admiration penalty, yeah. Yeah, it's an issue.
I also want to say that I've built with salvage and shoreline as well, and I did a different approach. I asked the inspector if we could set the structural engineer to approve this one package with heat buy-off. And he was good with that. Structural engineer said, this is how I want you to sort it. I'll come out and I'll just recheck it. He spent like half an hour rechecking my whole file. Wrote a letter to the inspector, done deal.
Great, yeah, that's great. Yeah, Shoreline is pretty nice to work with. Seattle is a much bigger machine, right? And so it's nice that code revision came out and you don't even have to involve inspectors. And by the way, I've never had an inspector say anything at all. I mean, they're so busy and, you know, they are in and out usually, but maybe someone's like, oh, old wood, huh? So it's been pretty smooth.
It seems like one of the drawbacks is the reclaimed lumber from studs, it's all about 7 feet length, right? So, and clients really love 9-foot ceilings now, right?
No,
Is it
not necessarily. I mean, they can get what you need like that. This one had, I think that's a 13-foot wall. And I think it's a supply demand thing, John. It's like, well, what do we have right now?
So you're saying
I haven't found that.
getting reclaimed studs that are longer, 10 foot in length is not.
A lot of floor joists back in the day were 2x6.
I think they're balloon framed up there with that.
Yeah, the old buildings were balloon framed.
Yeah.
I'm just trying.
Yeah, so I haven't found that. I mean, it certainly is, if you want to have cuts for blocking and cripples, that is easy to find, certainly, Valerie, what's her name?
Carrie.
Anyway,
Carrie.
now I'm thinking of the gal in Olympia area, that Portland. Hey, Copa. Yes.
I was just looking for an excuse to tell the clients, you don't really need the 9-foot ceiling.
Sorry, dude. I agree, but.
Real quick, we have a question in the chat from Ben asking if you could speak to the economics. If they're showing signs of things shifting favorably. In terms of, are the economics showing signs of shifting favorably?
Fairly general, Ben. Economics of reclaimed lumber or? the
Yeah,
market?
Ben, if you could expand on that, that'd be great. Like, what exactly do you mean, or what are you asking?
Maybe he's asking.
Using reclaimed
Okay.
materials.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, honestly, Ben, I'm afraid I'm too small to be a good barometer for this. We do 1-2 projects a year. Certainly the variability in new lumber, which we experienced to great effect in COVID, is reclaimed lumber is to some degree insulated from that, right? We're not, no mill involved, it's just Dave or Sledge, so it's sort of a different economy. So I'd like to say that it's a more stable economic situation than the lumber industry, but I can't really get more specific than that.
Yeah, I think he's asking if like, does it pencil out?
Yeah, and like, it does, yeah, you know.
You just haven't had problems with like, electricians cutting through there and then dulling their blades because there's a nail in there, you know?
Very rare. Well, it's all denailed.
You over there?
Well, is he nailed instead of like, they just sawzall it off or
Dave,
Yeah, we pulled the nails.
pull the nails out? But yeah, those workers are hard.
There's humanity, pull it back.
reverse nail guns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take advantage of like Built Green and other incentive programs that the city and state offer.
I'm a former Built Green verifier, so we have all our projects certified just because I do. Most of the scale stuff we're doing, certainly a lot of the daddies we've done aren't, don't fall under the purview of like Built Green, Priority Green or the FAR incentive, so yeah, not really. I mean, on the performance side, we do Department of Energy, Zero Energy Ready Homes, which does involve a builder rebate, but that's not a material, that's an energy focused thing, so. Yeah, I just mostly we do it because it's the right thing to do. Cool.
We told you you'd have more than 5 minutes to talk about, and we're glad that you did.
Okay.
Brought an inspiration of how to use materials and hopefully inspire more contractors.
10 years be good for this.
Yeah, good call.
Minimal heckling too.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
All right, now on the regulatory Seattle.
Not
policy-
regulatory,
Government
Just
side.
government, yeah.
Government. Wait,
That's
Right,
right. That is the right question.
you have the clicker?
Right.
Cool.
Okay. Okay, cool, yeah. Katie Kennedy, Seattle Public Utilities, I am in the, I'm in the solid waste line of business as opposed to, I'm not permitting. I'll talk a little bit about our green building incentives, but sure, it's great. But I'm looking at this from a materials side, so, that's my focus.
Oh, sorry. There you go.
Okay, so so I'll talk about like the 3 things. I wanted to highlight 3 things that Seattle's involved in, so the green building standard permitting incentive. Which Sean referred to a little bit at the end, salvage assessments, I was told might be of interest to this group. And storage infrastructure, the salvage lumber warehouse. So for the green building standard, so this is the permitting part that is not my expertise, but I'm gonna mention it because it's important for this conversation. So in exchange for more floor area or more heights or
Floor area ratio.
yeah, thanks, Vinny. So embodied carbon is one of the 3 requirements, and to meet that embodied carbon goal, you can retain the structure, you can move the structure, you can deconstruct it and salvage 1,000 board feet. Or you can incorporate salvage lumber, and that's the one that people are choosing the most often right now, and I think it's probably the cheapest and easiest, but it's still a great thing to incentivize. And so then, so for 1 to 4 units, and this just got updated in February, but if you're building a building with 1 to 4 units, you have to use 200 board feet per unit, so you end up using up to 800, I guess, and then 5+ units use 800 board feet total. Non-residential structure use 800 board feet, so so we increase that, we know that folks are going, right now Salvage is the only provider of salvage lumber packages. And we know folks go to them over and over and buy these salvage lumber packages because of this green building standard. And then I just wanted to mention the other 2 of those 3 requirements are using low carbon concrete and then doing life cycle analysis to show reduction in the carbon footprint. Yeah. I didn't say I was gonna talk about this, but we have a pilot deconstruction incentive. So 4,000 per house, 6,000 per commercial building, and 500 per garage. That was your idea. You have to use an approved deconstruction contractor. We started the program in 2022. So the idea is to help with that delta between demolition and deconstruction. So and I think, as I understand it, it's the smaller the house, the more likely you are. It depends on like, I think how much the cost of deconstruction is, and so this is just my impression, but I think it has to do with like how much square footage it is, how access, how valuable the material is, and I was gonna say something else, but so this, as I understand it, sort of the smaller structures, you're more likely maybe to meet demolition. So a lot of times, my point is, a lot of times this $4,000 makes a big difference. So the deconstruction contractors like put it in their bids, or they subtract it in their bids. So if they were gonna charge, if they were gonna bid 24,000, then all of a sudden they're bidding 20,000. So they're a lot easier, they're a lot more likelihood of meeting that demolition cost. And I think I heard about one that you brought to Sledge that was like 42,000 versus 25,000 or something. It was quite a big difference. And so the 4,000 isn't always gonna make the case, but it certainly helps. And then I wanted to mention too, that we do, as part of this, you can do an expedited electrical disconnect. So this is getting at, we know deconstruction costs more. Oh, well, okay, Dave, you could disagree if you want, but it frequently costs more and it takes longer. And so, you know, the money part of this incentive is getting at the difference in costs, and then the expedited electrical disconnects, hopefully. So that's something that we asked City Light, are you willing to prioritize the deconstruction projects for a quicker electrical disconnect? And they said yes, so it's a nice thing for the city to do, because it doesn't cost us anything. But it might make a difference in the timeline, and I think that makes a big difference to developers, so that is another perk of our incentive program. And then here's just a bunch of houses that have been part of the incentive program and some data about them, 42 applications in 2 years, so we're doing about 20 a year. An average of 5 tons of wood recovered from each house. And on average, the houses are 1,500 square feet, so I think they're I don't know the on average square footages of houses that are being demolished in Seattle. I think it is the smaller ones probably, but I don't know how that compares to the overall average. Something I like to mention about these is like, the sad thing about living in an urban area that's growing is that we have like gorgeous houses that come down that like they're in great shape, but it would be great to live in them. But, oh, and then this one was beautiful. I don't know if anybody knows this. This is up on Capitol Hill, next to that Starbucks Reserve. Beautiful, and I think it was an architect that bought it, or an architecture firm that was there, but beautiful old house. Anyway, a lot of beautiful homes come down in Seattle, that's a fact. And then, but a lot of these that have participated in the program have been like, you know, they look kind of shabby too. But the thing that I like to remind folks, especially that don't work in this industry, is that like in all of these, like the lumber is protected, like that framing lumber is protected. It's sandwiched between, you know, drywall or plaster and siding, and even if it looks bad from the outside, it doesn't mean it's not a potential deconstruction project.
So,
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
could a homeowner who wants to tear down part of their house, deconstruct their house or the whole house, get that tax credit, keep the lumber on site and then reuse it to build?
We've been asked that, because I've said no so far, because I'm not trying. I mean, that's great for them to do that. They're already saving money. Like, we're trying to make deconstruction competitive with demolition, so I don't consider that as much of a win. So I said no to the homeowner that wanted to do that. It was actually, anyway, Sledge was helping the homeowner, it was choosing. But that's not really the behavior that I'm trying to incentivize, and that's wonderful that they're doing that. But I'm really trying to partly support the deconstruction contractors and just help them be able to bid these projects in.
Or does it involve certifying a deconstruction contractor? I thought that was.
That's a secret. I mean, that. No certification. Like, I feel like if you're doing it, like you're kind of losing your shirt already and you're committed to it. So Sledge, they win, like they're certified, and What's that?
It's the Katie Kenny.
Yeah,
certification.
yeah. And Patrick Bennick is a new guy that entered in this area, and, like, I just think that, your, like, intentions make a huge difference. Like, what you see is as salvageable, and how you take on a deconstruction project, like, your intentions make a huge difference in that. And if you're trying to, check a box and you're trying to maybe like do as little as possible, like, I don't really want you in the program, but it's gonna get more complicated. And then you get into like the training question and whatnot, and kind of a problem, a little bit that I have right now is that I have a deconstruction contract for city projects, and I don't necessarily have the same level of confidence in all those contractors. So then the question is, how can I make that better? Like, how can I increase the confidence that all of them can do deconstruction? And I think it comes down to training, but then what does that look like? But it will be more of a problem as we do more deconstruction in Seattle. It's a good problem to have, I think. But it hasn't happened yet because there's not that much work. Salvaging building materials, I'll talk about salvage assessments. This is a pretty chandelier that's in my remodel. For second use. I have so much stuff. In my remodel, okay, like, I was a big customer of the salvage stores for a couple of years, for longer than I expected, and I like to think, so too much, but this is off topic a little bit, but my window package is reclaimed. It's like aluminum clad windows, and they're all reused, and I just feel like, I think a window package is like very expensive, like $20,000 or whatever, so I feel like whatever else I bought there sort of like is covered in the window package. Yeah. Super pretty chandelier. So this is Joel here from Ballard Reuse, removing a floor. But my point is to talk about the salvage assessments, and we, here we go. So, these are just the forms, it's not a pretty slide. Oh, I said Joel. So we require salvage assessments. So Seattle is one of a few cities around the country. There's not that many. Shoreline does, and I think now Redmond started, and maybe
Edmonds.
and the place where you guys have a store
Kenmore.
called. What is it?
Kenmore.
Kenmore, thanks, I didn't think of it. I really spent so much time in Seattle. Yeah. Anyway, so some other jurisdictions are requiring salvage assessments, so it's great, but I just think it's such a good model. So, we require them of larger remodeling projects. And then we require them of all demolition projects, and if you have a demolition project, you have to use somebody who's a professional. So that means somebody from one of the 3 salvage retail stores or a deconstruction contractor. So it requires people to at least be aware that these outlets exist and that stuff might be recoverable. And then we used to, this is in case you're interested in the details, like, we used to ask people to fill out a PDF and email it or whatever. It was really hard to track, and now we have like an entry portal, and it's a lot easier to track what the materials are, so the data, and also who's submitting them and whatnot. And then the key thing that I'll talk about is the salvage lumber warehouse. So we received a grant from the EPA for $4 million to support the setup and operation of a salvage lumber warehouse over 3 years. And Earthwise got the contract, so they are gonna set up and operate a salvage lumber warehouse. We're super excited, and they're really close to signing a lease. And this is a way to meet that storage issue, like, where do you take the wood? How can deconstruction contractors be successful if they don't have a place to take the wood? And how can we tell builders there's a consistent supply of salvage lumber to purchase if we don't have a place that's established that's providing it? And I do, and Sledge does have a salvage lumber warehouse, but it was something that the city wanted to support and make sure that it was sustainable and it was gonna be long lasting and whatnot. So we put out this RFP, and here we are. That's very exciting.
To be in South Seattle?
You can ask these folks,
It's gonna be in South Seattle, yeah, Soto, yeah, First Avenue.
like it's a real place already that you're going.
Yeah. Build a inches away from staying this side.
What's it? Well, I can, hopefully opening by the, we'll say by the end of the year, but hopefully sooner.
Yeah. let's do that.
And then what's it called?
Yeah, we couldn't come up with anything much better than the salvage lumber warehouse, so we call it the Arizona Salvage Lumber Warehouse.
Nice, nice. Elsewhere, thanks, good. Sorry.
Oh, no, we're not doing that. It's not an hot
I didn't
topic.
hear. Anyway, so that's, yeah. Okay, so that's it. I don't know if anybody has any questions about any of that.
Does your role exist in King County or Salvage County?
So, they're, very close. There are, so Kinley Dollar is like my, colleague at King County who he and I, collaborate a lot. He's been working on this for 25 years or whatever, and, so is a big supporter of deconstruction and got the used sawn lumber code into the state code with Kathleen Petrie, his, colleague at King County. And they also got the voluntary building appendices into the state building code. So one of them is deconstruction, one of them is the salvage assessment, and one of them is a waste diversion report, and there might be another one. But they're kind of like shopping those around to the King County cities, suburban cities. And then there's a chance that maybe they'll implement a deconstruction requirement in unincorporated King County. So they are working strong on this. Yeah, did you mention another jurisdiction? So much, not that I. Yeah, and when you say Stonehenge, you mean the city, not the county? Both. Oh, okay. Yeah, not.
So just to understand, if you wanna deconstruct or take your stuff, it has to be in South Seattle, right? The sledge is out of South Seattle too?
No,
There's
Sledge-
Ballard.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
Ballard?
Ballard.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, I thought they were in South Seattle.
No.
So there's now a south end and a north end, so
Yeah,
you
yeah.
don't have to drive all the way down.
There you go. A lot of our,
Ride your
like.
bike, John, we know.
Yeah, I can only get 1 2x4 at a time though. Like.
John, you had something?
Yeah, Katie, I know that, pretty sure in Portland, they require deconstruction for homes
Oh,
before
yeah.
19 something. Is
Yeah.
there talk of that in Seattle?
Yeah, I talk about it all the time.
Okay.
Myself. So I really think that's key is like, ensuring the supply of, lumber to this salvage lumber warehouse while we are supporting the salvage lumber warehouse. So my goal is to put in some sort of requirement where we are upping the number of deconstructions that are happening in the next couple of years. It's a hard thing to do right now to put any requirements on building when everything is coming off. But maybe there's a way that we incentivize it fully, but we could phase it in or whatever. I'm sure there's some not painful way to implement this and also support the warehouse. So yes, definitely.
Yeah, Portland does it by year, the home
Yeah,
built, right?
So in 2016, they implemented it and it's built before 1942, and I think it was originally built, the year cutoff was like 1916. It was like 100 years, I think, when they started. Okay, and now they upped it to 1942. Fabulous. I would love to do something similar. And I think the voluntary code that I mentioned, I think it's 90 years or something. So it would be in 1935.
And that's both narrows the number of homes and is older wood.
Yes, yeah, totally. Which is good, but don't tell Dave, you can all, you can construct old homes. Don't say that.
No, I like you the tiptoeing into it.
I know, yeah, and I think that's probably the only way to make it actually palatable is to do some combination of limiting it with a phased in approach and possibly paying for it, whatever. There's actually not that many demolitions happening right now. It's like 100 a year for residential in Seattle. And at the height, I was just looking at this, at the height, it was like 700 a year in like when things were really booming. So 100 a year is not that many to target. I would love to shift the incentive program to house moving if we can get a deconstruction requirement, but. When was it 700? What was the big booming year before things crashed?
2000.
Yeah.
Oh,
2020.
Yeah, 20,
crash.
20.
No, it was like,
2007.
I think it was
07.
2008.
2007.
There might have been a peak around 11, 12 too.
What's the context of how many homes are being demolished? Yeah.
Well, probably, I think all of them are getting the incentives, so probably 20 of the 100. It's actually pretty good.
How many homes are demolished in Decon?
100 total? No, that's what I was- Oh, yeah, that's 100.
They're being crunched up. Oh,
Well, it's not very many.
so we're doing like a fifth of them right now.
Yeah, which is crazy. I mean, it's on this, there's an OPCD dashboard, it's easy to see, it's easy to access, but, it's kind of crazy that we're doing so few. Like, I think Vancouver, BC is like 1,000 a year or something. It is weird. I mean, yeah, and Portland's about the same as us and we're bigger, so, I'm not sure what kind of info we do that's different, but.
I think I would just say like, just awareness that it's an option is not an assumption for most builders in the city, I think. So we talk to builders who are like, oh, what, you know, so spreading just the idea that this is possible is, I think, still important,
Yeah,
as an option.
yeah.
I think there's some amount of builders out there who that resonates with, so.
Mhm. Yeah, we need to do more to spread the word.
Do you have any sense of, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, okay.
So do you have any sense, I mean, now that we're facing tariffs and with the building supplies might be, if they are harder to come by, do you hope that might open a window?
I think it's great. I think it's great for reclaimed, for raised building materials, for reclaimed wood. The only thing I hope doesn't happen is that we start logging in Washington, like that we start increasing the logging in Washington to make up for the tariffs, then there's no benefit there to reclaim lumber, but yeah, if we reduce the supply and we don't change the price like the reclaimed lumber, then it's really good news for us. What's your?
Well, I just had a question in terms of, what do you think about older homes? In terms of like potential contaminants that are in the home, so the asbestos and those sorts of things and how that impacts the whole deconstruction process and reclamation process.
I'm gonna say a tiny anecdote and then I'll hand it over to Dave, but, in Portland, we do know that they catch asbestos in homes that are being deconstructed after the assessment has happened. So normally the assessment happens, it's knocked down, like the assessment abatement, it's knocked down. And then, but if you deconstruct it, like they found like 50% of the homes or something still had asbestos in it. So deconstruction allows you to find those materials and handle them appropriately. What do you say?
Well, yeah, we just dealt with that today with, yeah, the study in Portland was that everyone was following the rules. You tested for asbestos, you brought it to the lab, you got a report, you abated it, you got an air clearance, right? And so you followed all the procedures, everybody's happy. And after that, 51 of the homes that were deconstructed after that procedure, 26 of the 51 still had asbestos in. The asbestos was hidden far somewhere you couldn't have found it.
Yeah.
No inspector could have ever found it unless they literally drilled holes everywhere, you know, and crawled in every wall and so on. So what happened is, you know, the deconstruction companies would, you know, have the abatement contractor on speed dial and say, come back. You know, they wouldn't often even test it. They would say, this is a suspect material, we're just going to take it, because we don't have time. We don't have time to go through that process again and again and again. So, but the lesson in that is that, wait a minute, just how bad is demolition, you know? Because you mean more than 50% of the time you're spreading asbestos and lead all over my neighborhood? And that was the key incentive when Portland hired me to help them start their deconstruction program. That was one of the key reasons. The citizens of Portland said, we don't want demolition. We don't want to be our neighborhood's contaminated and stuff, and we have the data to show it's happening, and so when we went in front of the city council, we just shared that information, and what are they gonna say, you know? 400 feet away from this, part of the study showed that 400 feet from the demolition job site, there was dust in high enough concentrations to track back to that project. So it was like, yeah, draw a 400-foot circle and then wonder what direction the wind's, you know. So yeah, I don't know. That's something that we're clearly, we're not just the sustainable option, we're the healthy option too.
Okay, I guess in the following, I mean, versus knockdown, here, smash and dash. Had 400-foot depth test. Even after it was abated.
Yeah, we don't generate
Deconstruction
any
did
dust. The deconstruction doesn't really generate any dust.
That's right.
We don't pulverize lead paint, stuff like that. So, you know, it was the demolition job sites that they were tracking that showed 400.
So it's a healthier thing for the entire neighborhood, because you're
Yeah.
not creating a big.
So two things, they were spreading dust, whether it was hazardous or not, but then they were realizing that there was still lead and asbestos in these buildings, so they were spreading contaminants throughout the neighborhood. Every pet, you know, child, whatever, garden, you know, in that place, so.
I think our response to that is great, yeah, it's not.
They become really strict about watering it down.
Yeah.
But they haven't, to my knowledge, tested the water runoff.
Right, no, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we're not required in Portland, we aren't required to use water because we don't generate dust. So then we don't generate contaminated water from either.
So then to her question, I think, it's like you buy reclaimed lumber, it's not gonna have asbestos, right? Not more. It's been tested or.
And we won't do a single deconstruction project unless it's been properly abated, and then we go beyond that. As most of the deconstruction companies that I'm training, they receive additional training. They receive asbestos inspector level training, so that they can actually do the inspections, but on their own job sites, they can. I mean, if there's a suspect material there, they'll know it.
So it's not gonna be on the wood, I understand, like yeah, okay.
Yeah, and so when you talk to reclaim, so the homeowner, hey, let's use reclaim lumber, maybe the person responsible, is it toxic? Does it have like old stuff? You know, I mean, I thought that was what your question was kind of related to.
Well, I was just thinking about how, for example, my sister lives in unincorporated King County, and the house that was next to theirs, built in the late 60s, somebody came in, bought it, and flipped it. So they came in and just tore a bunch of stuff out of it indiscriminately, threw it all in a dumpster, and they know that their house, there are parts in their house that have asbestos in it. So probably the neighbor's house also had asbestos, and it's just uncontrolled. And because it was just a, flip remodel, nobody's checking on it. And so it's just out there flying around the environment. So just that kind of small, but not like full house demolition, is also like a concern, like to me, just in terms of neighborhoods.
There's just not great regulations around it. Yeah. So like EPA, like there's the renovator requirements, for if there's somebody living in the house, there's a lot of requirements around lead-based paint, how you behave and perform. But if it's on a demolition, then nobody cares. Like there's not the same law.
It would take a lot of water to remove dust on pocket, just a tremendous amount of water. And I've seen guys out there with a single little hose.
Yeah.
So maybe technically what we should be asking regulators is to all houses that are being decon, and to completely upset. So and that would change the economics.
Yeah, well, also if we require.
For decon sites, not demolition sites. So demolition sites, we get treated right.
Oh, right, for
reverse.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think your turn is next.
Oh, I'm sorry. Demolition, yeah. you're
Yeah,
right.
yeah. I mean, that's one way to make deconstruction or, well, is to make demolition more expensive, right? So like requiring like manual removal of the siding like they do in Portland for
Right.
painted siding. Also a way to increase the cost of demolition and it's safer, there's a reason.
Yeah, I think the whole panel, sort of, if we wanna continue deconstructing the use of lumber, and you're talking about designing for deconstruction. And then you're building past probably are your way of building have to adapt to continue to reuse the wood. And I guess I'm specifically thinking about as a salvage person, like wood flashing, super cool, but you can like
Yeah.
your wood.
I don't have a great answer for that. I probably shouldn't say this, but I have such little confidence that in 150 years, someone will. I don't know, it's hard to say what the world will look like, but I think Dave had a great point, which is maybe deconstructing modularly. So I don't have to peel and stick off. I'm just going to reuse that wall section. Maybe that's part of the answer, you know. But yeah, it's a great point. I mean, I agree. Liquid applied flashing ain't coming off. You know, in any scenario. So.
Yeah, well, so what got me started in saving assemblies was the fact that contractors were starting to glue subflooring to floor joists, right? That's been happening since the 70s. So prior to that, no glue. You know, you could just take things apart and sell the parts, right? And at some point it became like, oh my God, I'm having to cut all the subflooring up because I can't get it off, you know. And I realized, well, why would I get it off? Or, you know, I think the one day that is stuck in my mind is I spent the entire day taking exterior walls apart of a home. And I brought the lumber back after I pulled it all apart and I pulled all the nails and I loaded on a trailer and I brought it back to our store. And someone said, I want to buy all of it. And I'm like, great, what are you going to do? And I'm going to build some walls. And I'm like,
well, a properly flashed house built 100 years ago is still usable because it was properly flashed. So liquid flashing is never going to be a problem. Was never a problem then, and it won't be a problem again either.
Yeah. So like when you think of SIPs or you think of prefab walls, we call ours post-fab walls. We call them post-fab panels, not prefab, but post-fab because they come from the home, they don't go to the home, right? And so we want all of our products that we're creating to be designed for disassembly so that they are bolted together and things like that. And even hopefully come with a set of instructions on how to deconstruct the structure. One of the instructions might be, don't deconstruct this structure, leave it as a module that you can then reuse. So that building, which at my slide, you couldn't hardly even see it because the zoom factor of the slide, I don't know what happened, but yeah, it's made in, it's, you know, I think they were like 7 foot wide, you know, modules. So they're very easy to move. You know, you can put them, I think they might even be a little less than that. So you could put them between the wheel wells of a car hole or trailer or something. And like, you know, like if you have damage to one, if you know, this building is in the way, you know, then just move it, you know, I mean, that's how we got it there, right? We just brought it in. But we just do smaller structures. But I think we're trying to test out all these ideas so that we can share that with you over the, you know, the coming years. And then say, well, we did this and we did that. And can you do this on a larger scale, you know? But like we're starting to train architects and engineers about design for disassembly from our perspective. And so I have a workshop coming up in New York City next month. So
Virtual or on person?
it's a project based, so it's for the New York Climate Exchange, which is a really cool $900 million project that you know they they really want to incorporate all kinds of circular construction ideas and stuff. So.
Follow up and more just curiosity, is there an era of house that's easiest to deconstruct?
Easy?
Yeah, like what's the easiest era to deconstruct?
I personally love the 60s because it's such good lumber and such good materials. There was all of the, the rough sun and the uncertainty of maybe before that is gone. And then after that, then you worry about glue and you worry about sort of like other, types of products it's got, they started using. And, but yeah, I don't get to decide that very often. Our role in the industry is to every building. Like we have to sample every building. So we don't have a safe space that we stay in. Like I have to disassemble mobile homes, right? I have to do it because if I don't do it, then it's like saying you can't do it. So then I not only have to do it, I have to figure out how to make it economically viable because there's like 26 million mobile homes counting on me. You know what I mean? It's like, you're our last chance, Dave. Otherwise they're going to throw us out. And so, but so we have to do, like I said, we have a medical school, we have a hospital right now, we have a shed, we have, a garage. I mean, we do everything and we have to figure it all out to figure out a way to do it.
Okay. We're almost at time here, right? Even though we didn't say earlier, we have a tradition of convening at the 9th Pound Hammer after this event, so we can continue these conversations. Huh? It's tough. I'm something there'll be food and drink there as well. Bennick, one more question.
Yeah. Sorry. But it's short question for you. What things do end up in the landfill? Like what percentage of things are actually salvaged? Are there things that consistently we can't use as good in the landfill?
It's funny because I did the case study for you, and it was 94% we diverted from a landfill on that one project. So you're asking what do we keep out of the landfill?
Or what ends up in the landfill?
Well, what ends up in,
is it plumbing? Is it pipes?
Yeah. So, and that relates to the design for disassembly thing. So if you're, we call it designing for demolition, right? So if you, is that what you're all doing? Designing for demolition, or are you designing for disassembly? So, designing for demolition is referring to
Design pretty enough so they don't take it down.
Yeah, that's the architect's position.
It's just that things like torch down roofing or glued together things, spray foam can be really bad because anything you spray foam onto becomes trash. You're like instantly turning the whole building into trash because you can't recycle it, you can't reuse it. So I've been the only one that has changed that. If we have a spray foam floor, we'll use those floor assemblies. And so we're actually reusing spray foam, right? And so, but other than that, those are horrible things for us to encounter. There's also meth, what do you call them, meth labs? Meth lab homes, that means the whole building gone.
You have one.
Oh, thanks, yeah.
Conventional lumber needs better. Like I'm assuming TJIs are gonna be not salvageable years, right?
Yeah. TJIs are
So that
usually.
gets to this, you just flashed Ben's question.
Yeah.
Are any modern materials worth salvaging? I mean, I think, Ben, you're right, like, I think of OSB sheathing that's rotting because someone built it wrong. Of course not, but TJs, sure, why not? I mean,
It's just that they're glued.
but yeah, there's probably stuff that are glued to them.
Yeah, so that makes it hard to say, unless you follow our procedures, and then we're happy to say from,
You don't really need glue to use for anything else, right? Asking the builder guy.
People don't like squeaks. Yeah. And if you find
an old house enjoyable.
What about a new house?
my house, all squeaks. But new house, different expectation. And the problem from my perspective is, here's the keys, homeowner. Oh, there's a floor squeak. Well, it's really hard to fix now. So let's do the gluing because with low VOC glue, but it's a sequence thing, right? Like we gotta do it now to prevent that.
We're looking into these rolls of rubber that you put on top of the joists to reduce squeaking and reduce gaps that create squeaks. And
Squeaking is generally the wood rubbing the nail, so that's what is. That's why people use screws, right?
I see. Yeah, and then screwing too. Yeah.
So when you have your TV show, can you make squeaks cool?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like people bragging at all these squeaks they've got.
Right,
Check this one out.
This is so sustainable. Sustainable squeaks.
Well, I was just gonna ask if, designing that way, or, for those materials that if you're a builder or if you're a homeowner saying, these are the materials that I want in my house. So using as much salvage as you can, but then selecting for other things that could be salvaged later. Is there like a database or something for that where you could be like, okay, if I'm facing these two types of insulation, like I should pick this one because eventually when it needs to be replaced, if it needs to be replaced, and maybe it doesn't need to be replaced because it's so awesome that it lasts forever. But like that's a better material because eventually it'll be able to go through the cycle in terms of consumers being able to make those decisions or builders working with consumers to make those. Is there something like that?
I was gonna throw it out there, like you could walk around a salvage store and see the stuff that goes there, and like there's not particle board cabinets.
I mean, we'll take, if it's like good garage cabinets, if it's in good shape, we'd still, anything that we can salvage, you don't have to make another one new. So, it can't be falling apart, can't have water damage. But not to discredit that a lot of the new material is crap. I'm not denying that at all, but yeah, if you need garage cabinets or something, we will absolutely take those. They've still been made, they still have their embodied carbon, and so if we can give them a new life, and if they don't look good, then yeah, use them in the garage, use them for your project place, or whatever.
You wanna make sure it's gonna be reused by reused, so like, by use.
My thought on that is the amount of decisions a homeowner's making are so plentiful that and that slice is, the people sitting in this room, like the average person, unfortunately, has no idea that this conversation even exists. So let's change it to the best of our ability, but realistically, it's like everything else.
No idea yet.
I would take a butcher block countertop over,
which is actually a great example,
what
right?
is the other
Quartz.
Quartz, yeah, the plastic one, right? And part of the reason is because you can. Am I gonna have to replace it? Yes, but is it?
But first, you sanded it 6 times.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, it's more.
And that's one of the benefits of CLT. You start building everything without CLT, right?
Sure, that's a really reusable panel. Yeah.
That'll be reusable over and over again, I would assume.
Yeah, cut it up, whatever shape you want.
Is there a guidebook somewhere for the architects on how to design for?
Yeah, even Bennick has some resource designed for disassembly out there by a Brad guy.
You have your stuff that you're teaching on your line.
I think that we're still developing our curriculum, things like that, but I'm not a builder, I'm not an architect, really. So we're giving our perspective, which comes from 200 years of building, so that we are taken apart processes to apply to the next 200. That's really what it's about. I'm just saying, like, you gotta take the best of both worlds, right? Newer techniques, newer materials, compare that to past, you know. It's almost like we get to see, you know, what you're all building today. It's like I'm at the end of that project, at the end of that project's lifespan, and I get to see how it turned out, you know, like after 68, 100 years, whatever, when that building's lifespan is over, maybe because it was in the way or somebody wanted something new. But and then I just don't get to tell those builders and architects from 100 years ago because they're gone. You know, I don't get to tell them how it went. So then I get to tell the current builders and architects how it went, and then hope that they can learn from that. So, but we're not, like I said earlier, we're not waiting for y'all. You know, like we're doing it. We're building and we are designing. We are creating our own products and we are reinstalling our own flooring because we can't afford to wait. We can't afford to let the construction industry design for us. Use the word.
And I see that Aaron has very deftly put up, if you like what we're doing here, and if you like the guild, and we'd like to say that we're in a rebuilding of the guild year. This was our first collection of in-person classes in 5 years. And it's a collective effort to figure out what people want to see and what they want to learn. And on October 7th, we are going to have that planning meeting at Carlisle Homes in Ballard. And so join us, come be a part of this. It's a really good group.
Please.
And when is the picnic?
I was gonna, oh, you got the slide.
You go. August 27th.
So you can visit the guild website, ecobuilding.org, see all of our events, including the annual picnic, the education retreat, and then also Building Slam, which is in October. And if you have a project or know someone with a great project, with a great story, to apply up until July 28th. So,
So what is the slam is where people have their 10 presentations in 10 minutes?
10 presentations, 10 slides, and 10 minutes. It used to be called 10 by 2.
All right, thanks everybody.
Yeah.